Hey folks, this is the Core 3 from FindingGamesOnline.info, and I'm back a bit sooner than later this time with a new first look. If you have not heard, the King of Fighters XIII is getting a slight overhaul and is coming in the form of a global match. SNK released an open beta which took place for a week, and I have been spending some time with it and want to give you my overall experience. In this latest first look, we're going to talk about the history of the King of Fighters XIII and the many versions of this game that have released, with the beta included, and as always the online experience, so let's get into it. So let's go back to the original release of the King of Fighters XIII on home console. The game released on November 22, 2011 and was available on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Essentially, the King of Fighters XIII was in a lot of ways a completion of the previous title, as 12 was very much incomplete. Though a great deal changed in 13 in terms of gameplay and a continuing story, many stages returned from 12. Now, one of the biggest things that plagued 12 was its very bad netcode, and there were promises that things had improved for 13, but unfortunately, not so much. While 13 did get some great accolades, mainly because the game was just so wonderful to look at, the netcode really hurt it, and unlike other fighting games at this time, there were not as many updates for the game, and I personally feel this ultimately hurt its chances of being in the mainstream consciousness of fighting game players. A few years later, a new port of 13 was released on Steam for PC. This version, if I'm correct, would be the latest update that released in arcades, which was known as Climax. The Steam port would also advertise improved netcode, and while yes, it did greatly improve, it was still not the best it could have been. Fast forward to 2023, where SNK would announce a new port of the King of Fighters XIII at this year's EVO Japan, and it would include something that this game greatly needed from the beginning: rollback netcode. Up until this point, almost all of SNK's fighting game ports, with the exception of KOF 14 and SNK Hero Runs, have been changed to rollback netcode, and many like myself were hoping that at some point SNK was going to do the same for 13, and finally, prayers have been answered. Now currently, Global Match is releasing on Switch and PS4, but it is compatible with PS5. Unfortunately, there has been no confirmation on a Steam or Xbox release. Many are speculating that there will more than likely be an update of some sort, but SNK has been mum on this, and so it is a game of wait and see. So let's get into the beta. In terms of game modes, there was only the online mode available. The latest port of 13 has increased the online room from 2 to 9 players and has also added a spectator feature. Creating just a 2-player room will allow you to wait and practice for challengers, but beyond this, you'll just have to wait till players come in the room to play someone. The rooms have simultaneous matches, so you'll only be waiting for available challengers. In terms of the online experience, it is good, but there are some definite fixes that are needed. While there wasn't a great deal of teleportation, there were moments where the gameplay did rewind. There were times where I heard the sound of a character getting KO'd, not knowing if it was in fact supposed to be a KO, or I used a move that should have caused a knockdown, and it did not. So yeah, things were not the best. With that being said, you can really feel the difference of rollback versus the input delay experience. Having spent a great deal of time with the other ports, it really hits home just how much rollback was needed. Inputs feel great in this game and is very responsive, and if they can fix the outstanding issues by the official release, it really is going to be an amazing experience. The highest ping I played with someone was around 200 ms, and outside of the common issues, the inputs did feel wonderful. Just like the other KOF titles that include rollback, there is the option to increase the input delay. I did try increasing the delay once, but it didn't seem to take. The input delay and rollback frames are shown in the match, and it was at this time I noticed things were not matching with the changes that I made. So that is pretty much my experience with the King of Fighters XIII Global Match. As of now, we do know that this version of 13 is targeted for an early summer release, so here is hoping that we're not going to have to wait too long before we get an official date. We also have not gotten a price for the titles yet. I am guessing that one will be announced along with the release date. I'm definitely excited for this one, though I'm not too thrilled with the timing of the release given Street Fighter VI is out, but there is no doubt that I'm definitely going to get the game. Once again, I do suspect that they will eventually have an update for Steam and maybe Xbox, but there is no telling how long that is going to be. I already know there are fans of 13 who are going to triple dip on this one, because if you enjoyed this game, it is worth it for the online experience alone. I'm really happy to see that SNK is releasing it on the newer consoles and making the much needed improvements to make this a definitive version. That is it for the latest edition of First Look. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get in on the Tekken 8 closed beta that is releasing in July, and if I do not luck out with that, then expect another First Look for the upcoming Mortal Kombat 1 beta, which is targeted for August.